So I'm still waiting for Evan and Justifer to join us. I apologize for the delay here. Not getting much of a response from Evan and Justifer at the moment. So I don't. This is going to be a bit more difficult to host a lightning discussion if I'm the only host here. So I'm going to wait a couple more minutes to see if I can message these guys and get them to join the discussion here. If not, I'm gonna in the meantime, I'm gonna try to message some other people that I know that would be like fun to talk to and have on here, have a lightning discussion. If for whatever reason I fail to do that, I might have to just cancel today, guys. I'm really, really sorry. I really wanted to have this work today, but just give me a few more minutes, and I'll see if I can actually make something happen for y'all. All right, I think I've decided that I'm just going to go with it here and see what happens. So welcome to Lightning Friday. My name is Chaz. I'm the host of the Lightning Junkies podcast. Our usual co-hosts are Evan Kaludis and Justifer, from Zeus Wallet and Amboss, respectively here. So typically we talk about the Lightning Network and all the fun stuff, happening in the world of Lightning. We previously had a Watchtower discussion planned for today, but unfortunately there was a personal emergency, So they had to reschedule their appearance here. Just to get us started, the current capacity of the public-facing Lightning Network is at 2,900 BTC, which is roughly around $150 million or so. So we're obviously still moving up on the capacity side. It still seems a little slow in my estimation, but I think that there isn't any like profound reason to load up a bunch of liquidity onto the network, where we exist much more in a kind of incentive-driven market here, that isn't so much about just hype and making sure our NFTs have the highest price, so then maybe we could resell them for even higher price later, et cetera, et cetera. There isn't that kind of artificial speculation pressure on the Lightning Network. There's a lot more of people actually using the network for something useful, and so there tends to be a lot more of an organic growth versus, oh man, we're at $1 billion, yet we can't send anything over the Lightning Network because people were onboarding their money to make money, not necessarily to have the network work in the best way possible. And I think that's kind of largely what happened on the Ethereum side. A lot of dumb money just went into these different projects. And with the Lightning Network, it's a lot like it's people actually doing stuff. It's actually people building stuff. So that might be me, for example, building a Lightning Network podcast that relies on Bitcoin and Lightning to be like our back end, as far as getting paid for any listener contribution, support, what have you, selling all of our products via Bitcoin and Lightning. It just seems to make sense. And so I think that's why the organic growth has been slower than a lot of other things, including Ethereum, including Liquid, including even the Samurai Whirlpool, I think is at 4,000 BTC at the moment. I think it's a little bit older in some respects. It has a little bit more of marketing on the Whirlpool side, but I definitely feel like maybe that the Lightning Network overall, inclusive of public and private channels, might be around 4,000 BTC. Not that this is recent, but I remember that someone did a study a while ago that they were looking at all the closed channels and were like calculating which of these closed channels were public and which of them were private Lightning channels. And at the time, they said around 30% of all channels were private. So we can kind of infer a number from that. We can't confirm it absolutely, but we can kind of say maybe X amount of Bitcoin is on the private side. Maybe it's grown a lot more. Maybe it's a much more sizable percentage. We can't know that, but we can at least infer there. So there's definitely been some growth on the capacity side lately. I think primarily driven by a lot of these different communities, your plebnets, your Rings of Fire, etc. And they're bringing in Bitcoin. Ellen Big is making a lot of moves with his liquidity, and that's causing the number to go all over the place. And so that's kind of where we are at right now. I obviously don't know the future, but I expect our growth to kind of accelerate as just more eyes are looking at the Lightning Network, obviously with the recent Twitter news, with the recent El Salvador news. A lot more outsider eyes, as it were, are actually looking at this. And so naturally, little bits of liquidity are going to, stream into this ecosystem, and we're going to have, obviously higher capacity numbers. And I think eventually the Lightning Network will eclipse Liquid and Samurai Whirlpool as where all the Bitcoin is going, where all the interesting money is going, if that makes sense. Okay, so Evan let me know that he's caught up in a meeting right now. That's why he was not able to join right away. In the meantime, would anyone else like to join me on the stage here? I'm very used to having a co-host to bounce off of. So when it's me by myself here, it tends to be, yeah, just me just having a monologue here. How you doing today, Andrew?
Hello, not bad. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you absolutely. Do you have any questions or anything interesting happening in Lightning on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I just, I saw you, looking for folks to hop up and figured I'd come up and ask a question in the meantime. My question is really just like, first of all, I just love to hear what you're most excited about this week. Obviously, there's a ton happening. And the other thing I just wanted to comment or mention is, really, I recently left the fiat world for a Bitcoin job at Galloway, and they're helping put on the adopting Bitcoin a Lightning Summit in November in El Salvador. So where there's going to be a lot of people working on and presenting on Lightning. So I just wanted to kind of make that comment and just ask what you're most excited about. Thanks.
Absolutely. So Evan has joined us. Before I answer your question, I just want to say hi, Evan.
Hi, Chaz. Thanks for waiting on me. I got caught up in a meeting, but we were talking about lightning stuff, so that's got to count for something, right?
Absolutely. So before I answer Andrew's question, I'll just kind of catch you up really fast. We were just talking about the capacity numbers. We hit 2,900 according to amboss.space. But to kind of answer Andrew's question here, like what's the most exciting stuff? So I'll be honest. I really like the Twitter thing, like the Twitter and Strike API thing, but I was also one of the few voices out there actually saying let's pull it back a bit. Let's not be so excited for this. Simply because I think it's cool, it's great, but it's centralized, all the way down. And maybe I'm just being like a Debbie Downer here, and because it's not perfect, I'm talking shit. But I don't know. I just saw it as being like it's great, but not meaningfully different than if like Change Tip was still around. Obviously, Lightning's a much better UX than what on-chain tipping was. But I'm very nervous that this centralized company that has KYC, I guess I'm saying the centralized company of Twitter and then the centralized company of Strike with the custodial KYC product, makes me very nervous and makes me wonder if we couldn't have done better, and if better isn't coming at some point. It seems like some people might have some responses to me there.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. This is Harsha. I've been working in the space for a little bit now, and I think like you're absolutely right that there's a lot of institutional money kind of flowing into the Lightning space, and I definitely understand why you'd be concerned about that 100%. But at the same time, these institutions, they're kind of like multipliers, like massive multipliers when it comes to like onboarding people into the space. And we're kind of at that point right now where I feel like that's kind of what we need. If you look at a lot of the recent PRs in the LND, there's a lot of support for these institutions, because before it's been kind of tough to run your LND node without like, having someone constantly watching it. Even then, there's a lot of other issues. Like a PR that I just reviewed earlier today was something that basically allowed for people to broadcast their funding transaction for a channel, like without going through LND, which just helps reduce the amount of stress that LND has to go through, and helps reduce like the centralization of the actual infrastructure, which is definitely a major concern. And another PR that I reviewed about last week was that it allowed remote signing for transactions, which is a huge deal for something like LND. So you're just removing even more of the centralization aspect. And this isn't like centralization when it comes to like, you know, cryptocurrency talk. It's kind of like, you know, it's a typical paradigm when it comes to software engineering, you know, separation of concerns. So it's really good that we kind of see that work going into LND because we're trying to make it more friendly toward, you know, infrastructures, not just Twitter or Strike, but a lot of other bigger people who are coming on board.
So I think that's where I would put much more of my excitement. Like I can definitely understand the practical value of what's going on with Strike and Twitter. Obviously, it's a massive PR thing, massive marketing for Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. But I guess in reality, though, it's the things that I really like are the things that don't require a Twitter, that don't require a Strike. And, you know, actually build much more of the quote unquote cypherpunk kind of ideal there where we don't have these centralized parties and all that. I do find it interesting though, because since Andrew asked the question and he works at Galoy, that it's kind of the same approach that by kind of practical necessity there, that, you know, in order to onboard people in El Salvador, you couldn't just start with the most hardcore, you know, do-it-yourself method possible because then no one would use it, right? And so obviously it's the same concept with Strike and Twitter, that obviously they can't start with, okay, here's Bolt 12, go have fun, guys, talk to you later, because, you know, practically no one would use it. You know, I might use it, a couple other handfuls of nerds might use it, but that's about it. And I guess if the real goal here is to onboard as many people as possible, starting with something that's a little suboptimal is probably the best way to go versus, you know, waiting for perfect to happen, which it might never. So I do agree, even if it makes me nervous, basically.
No, Evan, you got it.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed bag, this one for me. And I think Chaz hit on a lot of the points that give me a bit of a wariness. However, you know, all things considered, it is pretty exciting to see the functionality just, you know, finally there in a limited capacity, admittedly. And, you know, I think the UI could be a little tighter, but the actual flow and the UX is pretty butter if you are on board onto Strike. You know, obviously we would all like to see the ability for someone to pop in a Bolt 12 invoice or a Lightning address, or maybe even like just a public key for someone to push sats to you via key send. I think those would all be really good options that Twitter should accommodate for. And I don't think there's any reason for them not to at this point. I know some people might be thinking from a legal perspective, not being able to KYC all their users, but I mean, they do allow you, if you have, you know, tipping enabled, to like pop in Bitcoin on chain address, right?
Yeah, I think, like, if I had to guess from Twitter's point of view, it's, you know, they've been really conservative about how they've been rolling this entire thing out, you know, with severe A/B testing. I don't have access to it right now, which is, you know, just a damn shame. If I had to guess, I think they were really trying to like just ease people into this, like, hey, this is Lightning. It's like Bitcoin, except it is Bitcoin and faster in every way. But you have to do things a little bit differently in order to like use it, right? So I do appreciate how they're kind of like offloading that a little bit into Strike. And like I said, I have no idea how the UX is here. I don't have access to it, unfortunately. But I do understand the hesitation here, because they are the ones tackling that whole this is Bitcoin, but it's faster problem. You know, just explaining to people what is already like a complicated issue. And I definitely understand the hesitant like way they're going about it, because I think we can all agree that they're being kind of conservative about how they're going about it, making a splash and all that stuff for sure, but the splash is more PR later. I feel like just saying we support Lightning. But as time goes on, they iron out these frictions. They're going to try and figure out exactly where the biggest pain points are, not just on their platform, but on Strike's platform. And as the entire like kind of circle goes all the way around of transferring these funds into users like wallets, I think they're going to go about trying to figure that out as well, which is just great for the space because they've got amazing UX people.
Yeah, they put a lot of thought into it. And, stuff like having all these different ways of interacting with Lightning and making payments is a UX challenge there. As much as I would love for you to pop in your Bolt 12, your Lightning address, your pub key for a key send, like if you display all that information to the average user, they're going to get really thrown off. They're going to be like, what is that? Why can't my wallet make payments to all these formats? It's a really big lift from an education perspective. And I think like that's pretty much the biggest challenge that we all have, just dealing with Bitcoin in general, I think.
Right. I guess I just wish it was they launched with something more than the Strike API and a static Bitcoin address.
Yeah.
Like a static Bitcoin address is like, dude, are we in 2011 right now? What's going on?
Yeah, the static Bitcoin address is pretty goofy, honestly. It'd be really cool if you could like upload your XPub and just get like dynamic Bitcoin addresses like for that specific XPub. But I mean, there's problems with that as well, right? That's a pretty good vector of guessing like your private key entropy if you generate enough. So there's issues all the way around. Whenever I get access to that, I no doubt I'm going to create a vanity Bitcoin address and just throw that up there and see if I get anything.
Yeah, good luck. I don't think any of us have it. Chaz, do you have tipping enabled?
I do not. iOS is not my daily driver, but I have been going on to my testing iPhone that I have and looking every day, like, come on, tipping, just turn on. I'll set you up and then never look at you again, probably.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so definitely mixed bag on this. I think it's exciting in that we expose more normies to Lightning. Hopefully get them to try out Strike at the very least. And I think first and foremost, like just showing the pricing and sats, like that's huge, right? To be like, okay, this is $1 and this is the equivalent in Satoshis, and that being the default. I think that's probably the biggest part of this all. So obviously a lot more work to do, but definitely a lot of things to be optimistic about at the same time. So we work at Twitter, turn on our tips for Chaz and I, even though if we're Android boys. And
please
mess around with it more.
Yeah, and I think like my entire point of view here is that when it comes to user like experience and like privacy concerns and centralization, it's always been a bit of a sliding scale, hasn't it? Even in Lightning now, like we see a centralization of lots of funds in Lightning, and there's like when I was when I was at Fold operating the Lightning stuff there, we saw like kind of I just called it a superhighway of just routing nodes, just nodes that always had tons of liquidity, always had super responsive dev teams. So I could just, literally ping them like, hey, Wallet of Satoshi, I need more funds in my direction. Like those were the people we really just wanted to route through us. We opened Wumbo channels with them. Like there is already centralization here, but the thing to remember is that, frankly, that's where good payments come through. The good payments, they don't typically come through not very well connected mobile nodes or nodes that are far away and don't have too much liquidity. It does come down to like who has more money, unfortunately. But if it comes like if this is a convenience thing, it kind of just makes a lot of sense because that does help users understand how to use this. And while the ethos is really important, I think I do think that getting people to actually use the stuff is like the priority, and we have to just remember where we came from along the way.
Yeah, I was going to touch quickly on I think we talked about the tipping on Twitter. I also think it's good to just, it increases adoption in some capacity. But the thing is that I think you talked about us as well with the Strike API, because I think it will be much better if Twitter would have implemented a Lightning address instead, because that is an open protocol. It's not some kind of API via Strike and so on. So that means that you could basically just put in your own Lightning address, and maybe perhaps Strike could provide like a default Lightning address for you that you can put in there. But at least it opens up for others to be a part of the tipping thing, so to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it would also be great if, even if you were receiving to your Strike address, like it would still be rad if Strike and Twitter, they could show you a Bolt 11 address, an invoice, right, so that you could pay it with any Lightning wallet. Like I think most of people's frustrations with it is that we have this brand new open economic financial system, but they're very specifically making us use these rails that they've picked out and have their, commercial agreements with. Not to say that I don't like Strike. I love Strike and I use it fairly regularly. It's just like, we're really not displaying the full potential of Lightning and what makes us so, bullish about it.
Yeah, it's kind of proprietary, right? I don't have a Strike account yet because it's not available in my country. It seems like, but like we have it's not perfect LNURL, but we have that as an open protocol. Like you can use that, and Strike can use that as well as a provider, like an LNURL pay or Lightning address provider. Then you can, as I said, you can just choose your own provider, and then Strike could provide a default one for Twitter. But right now, it's just locked down to their own way of doing things, which is, it's not like an open ecosystem, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
And it's still good that they're increasing adoption, but it could be a lot better as well.
Yeah, but let's say they did Lightning addresses, which would be awesome, and I think we'd all champion that. I think they would get some pushback and say like, okay, guys, why don't you have Lightning addresses built into your Twitter accounts? Then at that point, they're starting KYC all their users over a certain amount, and it's like a whole other headache that they don't want to deal with. Yeah,
well, I'm not against Strike as a custodial option, actually. It would be better if it would be non-custodial, and that's a harder thing to do for them. Yeah. So I guess as a stopgap, I think it's fine. But it's not fine to do this Strike API thing. However, I think that should be using an open standard rather than their own API, so to say.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll see. So I'm definitely cautiously optimistic, but I think it's all safe to say that if we look back on this in a quarter and they haven't iterated on the functionality at all, I think it's safe to say that we would all be quite disappointed.
Yeah.
So Twitter engineers, get on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's take advantage of this open financial monetary system and give us some invoices that are open. So let's see what happens. I definitely agree with you. Lightning address would be nice to see, but we'll see which way they end up going.
Any improvement, also just like an invoice, Bolt 11 or whatever, will also be fine. That's not this Strike API thing. It's fine as a stopgap solution, but not forever, so to say.
So I want to ask y'all a question. Assuming that other big companies are getting Lightning soon, and they are, I feel like a lot of these big companies are going to go the way of Twitter, right? Of just contracting out someone who knows this better, rather than like Okcoinode, for example, and instead of rolling out their own solution. And this is going to inevitably lead to the kind of centralization concerns that have been brought up here, but at the cost of being able to onboard tons of people into the space. Do you guys see this as worth it long term? Like to get more people into Lightning, to be able to use Bitcoin properly at merchants, in the same way that BitPay opened up merchants to Bitcoin, small merchants to Bitcoin, in the same way that PayPal started using
Oh, it sounds like you kind of got cut off there, but it sounded like you were saying, like, will this work going forward, basically, with the kind of centralizing pressure that's existing, you know, with Okconode and being able to use, like, maybe outsource your Lightning backend, essentially. So yeah, that's definitely an issue. You know, Twitter did that. Who else did that? Some other big company outsourced to Okconode recently. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Do you really want to do all this Lightning Network UX in-house? Or do you just want to just say, hey, someone else take care of it for us and just let us collect the trade fees? We're good. So in my eyes, I'm rather pessimistic. I'm usually pessimistic to throw my bias out there, but I see it as being roughly equivalent to where the internet was and how the incentives that acted on the internet brought us to this centralized thing that we have today. That's rather fragile if you go read what a lot of the internet experts say about the back end of the internet. It's like it's held by like duct tape and string or whatever, that, you know, anyone that was really wanting to, they could fuck the thing up. But I think that's kind of the long-term reality of the Lightning Network to some extent, that it's not going to go the way that we really want it to, that the incentives are going to centralize it to some extent. I think that Bitcoiners are going to largely move on from the Lightning Network, not to something different, not to something other than Bitcoin, but I think we're going to go to another layer, and most of the fun will be happening there. So I'm not sure if that's going to be channel factories or something else, but I do think channel factories will be one of the things. But yeah, like, I think we're in incredibly early stages. We don't realize how early it is, but it's like we're in the early 2010s on the like if Lightning was Bitcoin, we're in like 2011 or something. Like, we don't know what we don't know about the future of Lightning. And so right now we're just kind of twiddling our thumbs, enjoying the ride that's happening. But I think it's going to be very easy for us to further centralize, for have Okconode, async, these other nodes be like the quote unquote primary nodes on the network, which I do not want to happen. But I don't know how a lot of these different exchanges and companies that want to get exposure to the Lightning Network can do it when they're like, we don't care about Lightning, we just want to get that money coming in. So that's kind of my pessimistic picture. Hopefully Evan has a more optimistic picture here for us.
So yeah, a couple of things. So I think that we are going to definitely see a lot of companies who outsource their Lightning infrastructure to other companies. You know, I've heard firsthand of accounts of, you know, people asking around, saying, do you want help with your infrastructure, XYZ, you know? So that's definitely going to be a part of it. I think it is very challenging to implement, you know, Lightning into a stack of, you know, UTXO based or address based things. You know, it doesn't really conform in the same ways to hosting another cryptocurrency on your platform. So there are a lot of challenges there. And then two, I think another interesting point you made was about taking Lightning onto a third layer and what that looks like, where all the fun is going to be. And I think we are sort of seeing it in things like Strike, and where these like exchanges or you know, Lightning payment apps like Strike will sort of act as abstraction layers. So you're not worrying about your liquidity, you're not worrying about your channels or your management of your funds there. You're just expected for the thing to work. So what other forms it takes is, you know, still a little uncertain, but I think we're seeing a little bit of that play out because, you know, an exchange, for lack of a better word, like these Lightning banks, like they are essentially going to be the next abstraction layer up, and which, you know, it's going to be the layer which most normies interact with Bitcoin or will in the future. and it's not so much about there being like a conglomeration of like users on these platforms. There are definitely certainly problems with those platforms running fractional reserves for sure. But I think the most important thing we got to be conscious about is like, so that it's like technically, financially, and just like pragmatically easy to offboard yourself and going onto your own wallet where you host your own keys, and hopefully at some point go and run your own node. So I know there's going to definitely be a good chunk of centralization through these services. I don't think that all these hubs are going to make up the majority of the network just because of the ethos of this thing. And the amount of users I see onboarding onto, not only just Zeus, but like these node platforms like Umbrel and Raspberry Blitz and MyNode, etc. That gives me a lot of optimism. But we're still going to always have these big hubs. I think it's almost an inevitability. So, it's real, but as long as there's easy paths out of these closed systems, and you're still able to interact on the network like everyone else, that's a good thing. And then that's my main quirk with the strike thing. Like I can't go and tip Gladstein or whatever using this unless I have strike. Like I should be able to pay him through my Lightning wallet, like through Zeus.
Oh, you can do that actually. I mean, you can use whatever wallet to tip someone, but you can't receive. You need a Strike account to receive.
So if I go on Twitter right now, and let's say I set it up with Strike or whatever, someone could go and it'll generate a Lightning invoice for them to pay?
Yes, yeah. I have a video with Blixt, I think. Where I tip,
so that's part of the open.
It's only for receiving, right? It's only for receiving. You need a Strike account to receive. But to send, you can use whatever wallet. It will, when you click on pay, it will generate a Bolt 11 invoice.
Okay.
My contention was mostly with the Lightning address, because I think Lightning address will be used instead of this Strike API thing. But yeah, but you get Bolt 11 invoice if you click on the tip button.
Gotcha.
Either you can copy the address
or only showing up in iOS right now, right?
Sorry.
So it's only showing up in iOS right now, though. So like I think.
You need to use iOS. Yes. Yeah, you need the latest version of Twitter on iOS for it to work. Yeah.
Okay. So that assuages some of my criticisms of the tipping then. Because that's what's really important, to have compatibility on all layers.
Oh yeah.
And anything that's not taking advantage of that could, I think, be perceived as like an attack on the open network. So I think that's something we got to be vigilant about.
But it could reverse, yeah. As I said, you can at least you can tip someone on their Strike account, but you need Strike to be able to receive tipping. And just to emphasize again, it will be better if it uses like Lightning address, where you can just put in your own Lightning address on your Twitter account, and then there could perhaps be a default one where Strike provides one for you. But right now you're locked in to using Strike and their Strike API thingy, which I think is it's not very pretty in my opinion. But it's also fine for adoption, so I don't really mind.
So now I understand what you mean popping in the URL.
Sorry, I wasn't really clear, but yeah.
Okay, I understand. Now, one last question, which I think is really the game breaker on this thing. So when you go to someone's page, they have fixed denominations in dollars. And I've seen all the payments that have gone through have been paid through in dollars, it seems. Is there any option for you to say, okay, here's my Strike account, but let me get the Bitcoin, let me get the Satoshis. I'm not interested in holding the fiat currency. Is there an option for that?
I don't know, actually, because I don't have Strike, so I don't know exactly how that works.
Gotcha.
But yeah, perhaps someone else here can tell. But yeah. Right, I tried to put up a video of showing how. Like, this is just me tipping was gone.
Just to answer Evan's
sorry.
question about receiving bitcoins, I believe you can't at the moment. So you can receive your dollars, and then you can buy Bitcoin with your dollars in Strike. I think that's what Jack Mallers said in one of his last interviews.
Default to dollars, then you need
I
to.
think so. Yeah, that's what he said in one of the last interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, the default wallet
Something I
for
want
it is USD wallet. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're just credited in your fiat currency, and I suppose it's also only U.S. only for now, correct?
U.S. and El Salvador is my understanding, because that's the two supported.
Yeah, we would definitely love to see Strike, operate in more markets. I know there's something they're trying, so let's see. Best of luck to you guys. Definitely an uphill battle, but really like the offering so far. But yeah, so let's open up Twitter tips a little bit.
So we have a quick comment from the YouTube stream here from Narwhal Tacos. Love my Zeus wallet node setup. Definitely feels like on my own bank.
Narwhal Tacos, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for using Zeus. I'm glad you're feeling empowered. That's what I set out to do with it. Well, to empower myself, but I'm just glad other people are coming along on the journey with me and are getting a little freedom out of using it. So cheers. Well, what's their name again? Narwhal Tacos?
Exactly.
Great handle. Hope you have a good weekend.
All right. So kind of keeping us moving here, something else that happened recently is that Paxful added support for the Lightning Network. Do you guys think that this is important? Oh, and by the way, if anyone else wants to join on the stage, ask questions, make comments, feel free to request the speaker pribs.
Yeah, absolutely. We need some people to take Justifer's minutes. He is not joining us today. Actually, we should start a rumor like we kicked him out. But no, Justifer will probably be back with us soon. But he's a busy guy. He's a bit of a globetrotter, nomadic, that guy. But yeah, did you guys talk about any Amboss updates? Looks like they got ads on here now, and they got stickers.
Oh, that's right. I ordered a shirt from Lightning Store. If you guys have never checked out Lightning Store, it has some of the best Lightning themed merch out there, just period. I'm hoping for some Twin Peaks Lightning Network stuff. Nudge, nudge. But I actually bought the Thunder shirt for the Thunder Games. Jack from Thunder Games made that shirt. And inside the package had a bunch of the Amboss stickers, and they're actually really cool. I don't say stickers are very cool very often, so.
Cool. Yeah, they look dope. I hope they took my name suggestion for their character, their blacksmith. But yeah, it's awesome to see those guys constantly iterating up on Amboss. So yeah, we'll probably be integrating some functionality from Amboss into Zeus soon. So keep your eyes peeled.
So what do you think about that Paxful news?
Paxful seems like a great product. I have not used it, but I'm excited. It sounds like Ray has a pretty great grasp of, the potential of this thing. My question is, did they build it in-house or did they outsource it to someone else? Either way, that is pretty cool that they have it, though.
I want to confirm that too, actually, if they did it themselves. But some background, though, just in case if anyone doesn't know who Paxful is. Like a while ago, a couple years, I can't remember exactly when, but Paxful kind of came out of nowhere because local Bitcoin was having some kind of issue, and so Paxful kind of stepped in. They had a really good marketing campaign, I remember, and they were just everywhere all of a sudden. So I find it very interesting. They're the ones that are jumping on board Lightning Network, and I haven't heard anything from local Bitcoin. I guess I haven't heard anything from local Bitcoin in like a very long time at this point.
Yeah, it's a great platform. Well, it was in its heyday, at least. But yeah, I feel like they have KYC now. It's like a little mess. So I don't know what's going on over there. But, admittedly, I have not used Paxful, so really can't speak too much about it, but have heard great things about their product.
Well, I want to go ahead and welcome Charlene to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Hi, thanks for the welcome. I just wanted to contribute to the discussion regarding Paxful. So Paxful, of course, is a peer-to-peer gift card Bitcoin trading platform, and it's very, very popular outside the US. It's hugely popular in Nigeria and other African countries. And their move toward Lightning is really a play for competition. So, there's another a Bitcoin financial services organization called Bitnob. They're based in Lagos. They recently jumped on Lightning. So, I think it's a smart move for Paxful. They're doing amazing work. They have the biggest peer-to-peer coin trading platform that's operating in Africa currently. So looking forward to that. Just wanted to add that to the discussion.
Great. Thank you, Charlene. Really excited to see Bitcoin adoption growing in Africa, in Nigeria especially. Seems like Paxful is a part of the puzzle for them out there, so that's really good to see. And I just really wanted to drive home to everyone that this is such a huge move because Lightning Network enables financial inclusion. When you start looking at the amounts that are transacted over sites like Paxful or even big exchanges like Kraken, you'll see that the vast majority of both their deposits and withdrawals are quite small. So, mostly under $100 or so. And as a result, these smaller payments ended up using a large percent of their share on fees. If you can give those users access to Lightning, rails that operate, not only faster, but much cheaper for them, those people are going to end up with a lot more of those sats in their pocket. So if you're an exchange or you got a service and you care about financial inclusion, you should most definitely develop a strategy for implementing Lightning and supporting Lightning as soon as possible. So, cheers to all the exchanges out there trying to add Lightning to the mix. Awesome to see Paxful do it.
Yeah, I was working for Paxful until like 2 months ago or something. So, and I use Paxful to sell some of my sats when I need to pay my bills. So I'm quite familiar with it. And it's really a big deal because I was seeing a lot of them sending out from Paxful, moving to USDT, especially drawn USDT, because withdrawing BTC from on-chain from Paxful was quite expensive. And now that I can do it via Lightning, it's way better. And they're growing a lot at Africa, India. And although they don't have a big liquidity in every country in the world, you can use it in almost every country in the world. So it's quite cool that we now have on-ramp, off-ramp for Lightning in a peer-to-peer exchange.
Sweet.
It seems like
Sorry, go ahead, Chaz.
Sure. So it seems like that they're getting in just like at the right time. Like during the summer, we're kind of dipping. The mempool is basically empty the majority of the time. So we've been in an environment where we don't really need Lightning Network, quote unquote. if we're just focusing on just kind of payment UX and like on-chain confirmation times, et cetera, they're all pretty okay right now. You know, they're pretty similar to what they were back in the day. But I think once we hit a price move of a sufficient size once again, which I think is going to happen, it's not a guaranteed thing, whatever. But I believe it will happen. So when that does happen, the mempool is going to be much more filled up. Actually onboarding people to the Lightning Network is going to be a lot more difficult, and Lightning Network is going to be a lot more useful for the kind of people that would use Paxful, I would imagine, the ones that have maybe smaller dollar amount transactions that kind of would die if they had to use on-chain transactions, because some large percentage of your transaction would just be in fees. So I'm really happy that Paxful is getting this done now, and a lot of these other companies are getting things done now, because I think by November, December, we're going to be looking at a very different mempool and a very different transaction fee market on Bitcoin.
I think you're right, because if you think about, I mean, I think Lightning just enables Bitcoin to scale, because, you know, layer one, there's just no way you have that scalability. And as you move outside the United States and you look at the sheer number of people that that need to make transactions, Lightning is the only way to do it. You look at India, that's roughly 1 billion people. Nigeria is 200 million people, so that's the same size as the US. But the whole continent of Africa is another 1 billion people. So Lightning is the only way to scale those transactions quickly, right? You know, there'd be no way that you could, you know, make those remittances in Nigeria and other places, because it would just take way too long and the network would be too congested. So I just think it's awesome. I'm super excited about Lightning, and then just the impact it's going to have around the world. So I'm looking forward to it. Oh, and by the way, I run a podcast called Bitcoin in Nigeria, if folks are interested. And so we are on our second episode, our first episode where we interviewed the founder of Bitnob, Bernard Parra. He is the founder of, and of course, Bitnob is a Bitcoin financial services company based in Lagos. So if you want to hear that, you can check us out on Spotify. So I appreciate your support. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and put that into the show notes for this episode, so other people in the future can just click on the link in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, here. So kind of moving on from that Paxful news, something else. So the same guy that, oh wait, go ahead. You were going to have a comment?
No, yeah. Like I tried to pay an invoice now to Paxful to check if they were doing their own integration, and it's wallet of Satoshi. So I think they're using like their API. I don't know.
Oh, Paxful is using the wallet of Satoshi API?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was looking on the announcement and I didn't see any particulars for what their infrastructure was.
Yeah, that's funny because I suppose you just scanned the Bolt 11 invoice. So just a reminder, folks, you could tell what public key or what node initialized a Lightning payment invoice. So that must have been the giveaway.
What decoder do you use?
Me, you know, typically just look at stuff in Zeus, but there is a decoder I use on the web for when I'm doing dev stuff. What is it? lndecode.com.
Yeah, there you go. So I did want to mention one quick thing, like a new thing. So the same guy that does Lightning Store also designed this thing called a Lightning ATM, not the most inventive name, but the visuals for it are really interesting because it looks like some early 90s video game kind of thing, one of those ones where you would click around and not like a first person shooter. You're clicking on things, finding clues or whatever. But this ATM is in that kind of art style, and it uses the Azteco vouchers for their kind of back end. So it's a little expensive, but if you want non-KYC to Bitcoin over the Lightning Network, this would be an easy way to do that, and it's a kind of a cool experience having it be in its in the UX that it's in there. Do you guys happen to see that by chance?
Yeah, I'm messing with it right now. It definitely does look like a 90s DOS game with the graphic fidelity over here. But I do like the graffitied up wall and ATM and all these stickers over here. I see my Lightning Junkie sticker over here. That's pretty funny. Oh, you got a Zeus scratch over here. So yeah, it's just Azteco, but you have to provide a credit card or your billing information.
Right.
Yeah, but you can use like a prepaid card. I like the Ratoshi.
Yeah, this looks pretty solid. But yeah, I'm a big fan with what Azteco is putting together. Hoping they could run for as long as possible, and this is really cool to see a really unique portal like this. You definitely don't see something like this too often, so pretty sweet looking.
Yeah, that dude that runs Lightning Store is very prolific with his creations. So that's no doubt why Azteco hired him to do the art for that.
Yeah, I'm loving it. This is great.
Is this like an Azteco project or is Lightning Store project? I understood as it was like a Lightning Store project. Like he not that Azteco hired him to do something, because I don't know. Do you know?
He might have done it for fun, honestly. I don't know that. I was just guessing, to be honest.
Yeah, who knows? They have a vendor for the agency that made it, ACOS Web. But yeah, it looks a lot like a lot of components of it mirror that of the Lightning Store, like the main store. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see that. It's cool to see the synergy. It's cool to see, another outlet for Azteco, place for people to buy vouchers. So yeah, it's pretty sweet.
So in other news, another thing that I'm really happy to see because I actually use them for my domains. Namecheap has added Lightning payments and will be launching with them soon. They haven't launched them quite yet, but the word is they're just about to pull the trigger on it. And this is great because this is one of the major domain providers out there that has actually pretty good security and is fairly cheap, as their name implies. So I think that's really important, that more and more of the back end of my business now can be paid directly with Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. So when people tip me with Breeze or with whatever, I can immediately take that money and pay bills with it. And that's kind of what we want, right? We want that circular economy or that closed loop economy, whatever you want to call it. And I would love to see more and more of this and try to get, DigitalOcean and other companies like that also accepting Bitcoin and Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. For the same reason, to try to get as many, Bitcoin and Lightning businesses to not have to switch back and forth between fiat and try to keep everything on the Bitcoin side of things, and have a business that is kind of more pure, if that makes sense.
And Chaz, anything interesting stats they shared? Like they said they sold 190,000 domains with Bitcoin on chain. So really cool to see how that will grow with Lightning now.
Yeah, I think it'll probably grow way more than on-chain, because I remember when they added the on-chain feature, I was like, great, but the fees were stupid high at that particular moment. So I was like, that's great, but I think I'll just use my credit card on this one for now. I think I've already been using the credit card for like a year or more, so it's whatever, it's already done. But no, I think Lightning is going to drastically increase the amount that they're going to get through there. I still think that we need Cash App basically, or some other major, money app to implement Lightning sending on their side, or at least in the US, I guess. But because I feel like that's the major thing. Like newbies still need to get more experience with this stuff, or else it's going to be really one-sided. It's just going to be, the same nerds buying domains with Bitcoin and Lightning, and not anyone new. Like I want to see more new people trying it out and enjoying the experience, etc.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like it's already in the plans for Cash App. I mean, if you watch Jack Dorsey's moves, he's a fan of Lightning. He's already implemented it for Twitter, so it's probably in the works, and we'll see it very soon.
Yeah, I think it's pretty far along. I think it wouldn't be a surprise if we saw it before the end of the year, but if not then, I think almost definitely in 2022, those guys will have it up. So don't worry too much. So Namecheap, do they use BTC Pay Server for their payments, or they use something like that?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they run their own instance. Okay, that's great to hear. Always encouraging to see people leveraging that open source software. And Namecheap is a really big provider, so that's really encouraging. I'm glad to hear that Chaz can leverage it, and sounds like his circular economy is growing a little bit bigger today, so or will be soon once they enable it. So really, really stoked to hear about that. Hopefully, this becomes a standard payment method for, all sort of, hosting providers and domain names. This, after all, is the currency of the internet. So, if anything with hosting stuff on the internet, should definitely be leveraging it. So, this is just an inevitability, but it's good to see it sort of coming to fruition in a few places.
Yeah.
So I had a question in my DMs that I want to go over real quickly. This one's from MF Hodl. Shouts to Hodl. I think he's listening in. He says, "Yo, Evan, can you guys talk about Lightning Address versus Bolt 12 trade-offs in terms of static receiving strings and what the real difference is?" So this is a really good question. And, right now, I would say neither is really ideal. So for those that don't know, a standard Lightning address right now, or Lightning invoice, I should say, is called a Bolt 11. And that's just like the standard for how, these invoices are put together and their features so that they're interoperable with all the different Lightning implementations. And as it stands today, all the Lightning implementations follow the Bolt 11 stack. And if you make a Bolt 11 invoice on any of these implementations, any of the other ones can pay it off. So Bolt 12 is a newer, updated version of that spec that includes room, first and foremost, I would say, for recurring payments and, being prompted for like updates so you could like keep a subscription rolling. But it would also be good for, letting multiple people pay you out on Lightning. So you would be able to generate a Bolt 12 address and people would be able to push payments to you as they saw fit. Now, the problem with Bolt 12 as it stands right now is that it only works with C Lightning. So Eclair can't pay off these addresses and LND can't pay their addresses. And I'm not sure when that's going to be, not the case. I think there's like a lot of dealing between the developers, battling between what the priorities of the stuff they want to implement, versus like trying to like leverage with other implementations. Like, oh, if you put this in your implementation, will you guys put this feature in yours? So I think there's like a lot of weird politics going around, but I would really like for it to be fleshed out, which admittedly needs a little more time, and it's a brand new thing, but I would eventually love to see Bolt 12 in all the implementations. Now, Bolt 12 would be ideal in that, it's just like a Lightning invoice. As long as that node's online, you're ready to get it at any point. So that's great. Now, Lightning address, what's the difference here? So Lightning address is an extension of the LNURL Pay protocol where you can scan an invoice and have a invoice queried for you to the destination node. The problem with LNURL in general is that it requires a second server set up on top of your Lightning node to be able to generate these addresses for you. So all of the LNURL stack is not inherently on Lightning. Like, it's another layer on top of it in a lot of ways. So a Lightning address, if you set it up on your own domain and with your own node, you can actually plug it into any of the implementations, and any of the implementations would be able to pay it off as long as their wallet supports it. All it's essentially doing is generating a Bolt 11 invoice for you. So very different approaches right now. Lightning address and the LNURL stack is really just trying to address some of the shortcomings with Lightning and the protocol right now to make it a little more dynamic and make for some interesting, payment flows. But ultimately, something like Bolt 12 would be better for all users in terms of use of generating it. However, the support is very lacking right now. So right now, if you want to accept Lightning tips, it probably has to be through a third party or through something like Lightning address would be ideal if you run your own domains and you have the technical expertise to do it. But I would say in the future, once it's widely available, I think Bolt 12 will be much, much easier for everyone to use in a self-sovereign fashion. So,
hey, Evan, what's up? You said that the support for Bolt 12 is lacking. Do you think that there's a risk that, say, LND is just going to drag their feet on implementing it?
Yeah, so it's a bit of the gift and the curse of the Lightning Network development, right? It's that we don't need to get everyone to opt into like a soft fork upgrade that we would have to see on the main chain. And developers have to, just have an idea and implement it into their implementation. But for it to really become like part of the Lightning spec, some other implementation has to sign off on it and say, okay, yeah, like this is a good idea. And it just hasn't gotten to that point. So it doesn't necessarily need to be LND. If they get Eclair or say Rust Lightning, the LDK project that Corallo and the guys at Square Crypto are working on, if those guys do it, like they sort of push the rest of the implementations into sort of signing up on to it and saying, okay, yeah, we'll get around to it. But that being said, even if that does happen, LND can still drag their feet and say, we're going to try to prioritize something else for now, and we'll get around to it. So while we think ultimately, as long as the functionalities holds up and there's user demand for it, I think it'll eventually come along to all the implementations. I just think there's a lot of uncertainty as to when that's going to actually happen.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I was talking to some of the Blockstream guys, and they were kind of, expressing that frustration as well. So, maybe C Lightning leads the way. And I love what you said, that if one of these other implementations is to start, then it will kind of force, I think, the hand of some of the ones that maybe have a bigger market share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just takes one other implementation to really sign up for an idea to sort of coax everyone else to do it. And, it's also going to take some demand from users, I think. So I'm really looking forward to someone like Suheb at RTL to put it into their product and have C Lightning REST users be able to leverage that. I think if people are able to use it in a smooth fashion on his product and the word of mouth spreads, like that'll also be a contributing factor in the implementation of these things. But, at the same time, it's not very battle tested yet. We don't know exactly what the UX is going to look like for like notifying a user they got to make another payment. Like there's some UX challenges in that. However, there's a lot of promise to it too. So, we hope that, either it ends up being great and more implementations end up integrating it and we see it more places, or it gets iterated on. And you know.
So do you think I should wait for the tattoo? Because I already have an appointment.
I think you might be better off with the lightning address tattoo. That way you could say, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's just my email address." So yeah, just shoot me an email. Don't send satoshis to it. Just send me emails. So that would be my strategy right now. But
So
yeah, it's crazy because we're starting to see lightning be implemented on ways like Twitter, on like these massive platforms. But there's still so much more protocol level work to really be done. Like, I don't think people will be using Bolt 11s or even 12s in, say, 10 years. Like, there's going to be so much iteration that happens as just the next 5 or 10 years. But even beyond that, it's going to be mind-blowing. So it already is blowing my mind where we've progressed in a year. But I think the next 5 are going to be even crazy.
If we're not going to be using Bolt 11 and 12 in the next 5 to 10 years, what is your kind of imagination of what that future will look like? What will the UX be? I mean, I know your guess is as good as any, but what would you like it to be?
Oh man, you mean? Well, I would like to see ultimate flexibility, being able to subscribe, like auto subscribe to certain flows, to be able to pay for media by the second. You know, like let's say I want to watch a movie, but I don't want to commit the full, I don't know, $20 worth, or I don't know, 20,000 sats to it, to watch the whole thing. Let me try the first 10 minutes. Let me like pay for it by the second as I'm going by. I think some of that stuff has been the most.
I mean, we can build those kinds of applications now, though. Like, why would the protocol itself need to change?
It's really just the way that we're actually doing that. Like, you're thinking about doing it today. Like, do we really have a fixed way of doing it? Not on Lightning. Like, coupled with something like an impervious AI, like those sort of flows are more possible. And you do sort of see like a sneak peek of it, the way that podcasting 2.0 works on Breeze and other apps like that, where you can like push key send payments at a fixed interval, but that's not really the same thing, at least in my eyes right now. So, you know, perhaps a lot of it is like under the hood and how it works from like the developers level, but and perhaps a lot of the core ideas are already there and can work right now with a few hacks, but I'm envisioning a world where all of these things are like pretty much tied into the protocol. The address formats all work with each other. You can, you know, easily subscribe and cancel subscriptions to different events. You can stream events using that streaming SAT concept, but, you know, just all with your core Lightning client, with that whatever implementation you're using and with whatever wallet you're using. So I think we're going to see a lot of fragmentation with feature sets as we go into this bit of more of an experimental like era of Lightning development and people trying new ideas. I think things are going to get a little fragmented for a bit, but I think ultimately, you know, this really clean and dynamic feature set will, you know, hopefully be standardized and just usable across, you know, all these different stacks. So I think that sort of leans into like sort of the gift and the curse of like how Lightning development is. It's like, you know, you don't have to wait on anyone else to try a new idea. All you need is to have like one implementation, 2 nodes running the same code. But, you know, you might end up with 2 completely different feature sets and nodes that could only really interact with each other on like the base formats or like Bolt 11, and no one wants that either. So
here's my question to kind of bring us back a little bit. So we were kind of talking about how L&D's kind of dragging their feet a little bit on Bolt 12, but isn't it because they're doing that because they're prioritizing their AMP invoice thing?
Yeah, they're definitely taking a look at doing AMP and using AMP for recurring payments. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they can converge on some sort of unified standard there, but you know, it might end up looking super fragmented there. And, as someone who does application development, you're really not looking forward to having to support two different kinds of recurring payments. But that being said, before we sort of reach a sort of consensus on like what this whole protocol should look like and the whole stack with it being fully featured, these next 5 years, it's gonna be hairy, and you're gonna have a couple of competing specs. And just hoping on one hand that there is enough experimentation to find the best solutions, but also hoping that the development teams can work together at a clip where they can, come together with solutions that benefit the whole community. So it's a lot of challenges.
Just to quickly touch on the Lightning address versus offer discussion some time ago. I think there are different use cases for Lightning address and LN URL Pay versus offers, because as you said, even you need a HTTPS server to be able to provide like a LN URL Pay server.
Yeah,
service.
It's got to be a web server where you can fetch that and call your Lightning node to generate a new invoice or do a new operation. Yeah.
So exactly. So small podcasts and even large podcasts, they won't necessarily have the knowledge or even want to be able to set up a server for that. So in those cases, I think offer or even AMP invoices will be preferable instead of. But at the same time, LN URL Pay and so on can be used for maybe web shops and whatnot, because then you can provide more interactability with images and provide comments and whatnot for the shop. So there are different use cases for that, and then Lightning addresses comes in between there, because in that case you are doing like person-to-person payments instead of person-to-business payments or customer-to-business payments, and there is like an uphill battle for non-custodial wallets there, because the custodians, they can just provide the Lightning address or LN URL Pay server for the users, but that's not the case for non-custodials, let's say. So there's an uphill battle for non-custodial wallets to be able to provide Lightning address for their users, which is what we're seeing with Breeze and Phoenix and so on. They can't really do Lightning address for their users just yet, at least not with heavy trade-offs for that. So I think there are different use cases for the different things here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make some really great points there. There actually is, arguably, I would say, for sure, a future for LN URL to continue on, even if the Lightning spec is heavily fleshed out.
I believe so, yeah, because there are some things that is easier or at least better to do with the way that LN URL works, and that doesn't take away anything from offers and vice versa. Like offers has its own good things that you can do with it, right? So and because you don't want users to
like those are more conducive to subscriptions. Bolt 12 and AMP could definitely end up being a perfect solution for subscriptions.
Yeah, but
whereas
also, like, you want to just have a address or something like a podcast, they don't necessarily have the knowledge to set up a web server, right? So they can just provide a simple offer code, and then anyone can just pay that. And that's just it's just the barrier to entry is much lower in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's like a lot of, again, just circling back to the thought on education, like there's just so many challenges in educating people when you have this technology that's so open. There's so many ways of using it, and there's so many choices and trade-off between those choices and solutions. So yeah, it's just critical to have outlets and places for people to like ask those questions, get education, for places where we could talk about like what the hell is a Bolt 12 versus Lightning address. So yeah, education is a big part of the puzzle. I think it's definitely understated.
I think we should start doing a weekly Lightning education thing, dude.
But now that's an idea.
Maybe my sarcasm didn't land there. I don't know.
So,
No, I
Evan, I've never done an AMP payment before, and I have LND. Is it something I can do now?
Yeah, you could do an AMP payment. Okay, so it depends exactly what you're looking for from AMP. So it's really an extension of the multipath payment system that they had since like LND 0.9 or something. But it is going to have future functionality for you to be able to do subscriptions. So like there's not like a whole big benefit to like creating AMP invoices or in paying them right now, but you can with LND, and we have the interface for it in Zeus too. I think what people sort of passed up was the main benefit from multipath payments, where you can split up a payment for a Lightning invoice to multiple routes, so that you have a higher degree of success for those payments. That's just built into LND right now. You can specify how many max paths for you to try, but I think it's set to 12 by default right now in LND. So like for the bulk of the functionality that you want to be looking for, it's sort of like built in by default. So unless I'm wrong, and AMP has some other functionality right now that I'm unaware of, but I think all the support that's in right now is like really just under the hood.
So kind of moving on to another topic here, if you guys are all set with that one. I actually wanted to get Hampus back on stage because he's actually associated with the Blixt wallet project. I know it's been around for a little while, but I think it's getting a bit more visibility. So I would love if Hampus kind of explained why or how Blixt wallet kind of stands out in comparison to some of the other mobile Lightning wallets out there.
So, sorry, I missed what you said in the beginning there when I switched to a speaker. But
Sure.
I think you wanted to hear a little bit about like the value proposition of Blixt, if I understood you correctly.
Absolutely. Like, why should I use Blixt instead of Breeze, Phoenix, whatever?
I mean, it's kind of the same, right? I mean, I'm focusing on the same things, like usability, easy to use for newbies to come on. But my my users right now, they're a wide spectrum. Like I have newbies and newcomers that uses Blixt, and they use the normal like the Blixt LSP node that I have, like a routing node, and they just connect to that one. But you can also in Blixt, if you're a more of a power user, you can also enable Tor, and you can use your own open channels with your own node and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of trying to eat the cake and have it, right? So you can use Blixt as a convenient wallet, just like you could use Breeze, but you can also choose if you would like to have more control over your wallet, so to say. So that's kind of where I am at the moment. I'm trying to be a user-friendly wallet, but not to hide things from the user if they want to do stuff, so to say. If that makes sense. It's and it's very similar to Breeze in that it's running LND like a full Lightning node inside inside your phone. It's not like Moon, which is like a half Lightning wallet and a half not. It's a full-fledged LND node inside it.
But the difference is you don't have an LSP, right? So like you're not like taking channels, customers on chain phones and converting it.
I do have an LSP node. Yeah, I do. So if you send,
okay. So you're giving.
Sorry.
Are you providing the users with liquidity though?
Oh yeah, I do as well. It's still in a beta phase, but you can use my Dunder LSP node and send, if you take an incoming payment on Lightning, I will open a channel towards you. Yeah, just like Breeze and Phoenix does. And also,
cool. All right, I'll have to try that out.
Sorry?
I'll have to try that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's just PM me and I'll explain. It's still like in an experimental phase, but we can just enable it in settings, and then if you create an invoice, the Dunder LSP node will open a channel towards you automatically. And also, if you send on-chain funds to Blixt, it will also hook you up to the LSP node. But as I said, you can also choose your own nodes to open a channel through your own node if you want to. It's just, I provide the flexibility there, so to say.
Gotcha. And let's say I want to connect my own node on Blixt. Can I connect it directly? Do I need Neutrino installed?
Yeah, I mean, just install Blixt, and then you can, if you send on-chain funds to Blixt, you can use that funds to open a channel with your own node. There's nothing like explicit you need to do. You just need to send.
You're saying the on-chain, the in-app node, because you run an node.
You also have a Bitcoin wallet inside the Blixt that you can send on-chain funds to. So if you can use those funds to open a channel with your own node as well.
Cool.
Automatically, like the setting that is enabled by automatically is that it will open a channel towards the Blixt node, because that's the normal way of using Blixt. But I really don't want to hinder people to do their own things. Like if you want to use your own node, you're free to do that, and also host your own LSP, like the Dunder service. You can do that as well.
Awesome. So are you planning on adding any features that would make you stand out versus Breeze? You know, like Breeze is obviously doing much more of this podcasting 2.0 thing, where they're kind of able to monetize with these by taking some amount of the fees that users send to their favorite podcast or whatever. So are you planning on doing something on your end to monetize? Because I think that was a criticism of Breeze before, and I guess just the model in general, that it's a kind of short-term plan, because you can't really open a unlimited amount of channels for an unlimited amount of users. So you would need to have some kind of money coming in to pay your expenses at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any monetization plans right now. I'm trying to make it as an open source project as much as possible, but we'll see in the future. I have some plans to make Blixt stand out, in that I'll try to do some kind of solution for non-custodial wallets to be able to have a Lightning address, because as I said earlier, if like non-custodial wallets right now are in a mess if you want to have Lightning address. It's mostly CBD and the other guys that can provide a Lightning address for their users. Like if you are a non-custodial wallet, you're kind of screwed right now. You can't really receive via Lightning address. So I have some plans to be able to have like a trust minimized solution for non-custodial wallets, and that service will have a seamless integration into Blixt then. So that will be my like shtick basically.
Cool.
So yeah, I've definitely added Blixt wallet to my already kind of, how many do I have on here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 right now. 12 Lightning wallets on my phone. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to actually do some of these Lightning address transactions, because I still have not tried that out yet.
Oh yeah. I was very early with supporting Lightning address. I even have like a contact list where you can add all your friends inside Blixt. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I'm really big fan of Lightning address. So I'll try to, because I think it provides such a good UX as well to be able to send to an email like format. Like it's really convenient to use. So yeah. And also, if you have any questions, just PM me and regarding Blixt studies.
Yeah, I'm using Zeus, which I'm a big fan of, Evan, and obviously I love that I can, you know, just key send from my mobile Zeus wallet. It's really great. My only issue, and Evan, this has nothing to do with Zeus or you or anybody, is just it's fucking slow over Tor. You know, same problem with Zap and any of the wallets that I've been able to connect to my node over Tor. It's just, unfortunately, it slows it down so much, and I don't know what the solution is other than just to spin up a node on ClearNet.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and you know, I think for people who need more reliability in that sovereign stack, they're probably not going to be able to get it unless they are willing to put a VPN on their home network. So, yeah, it would be nicer if we could find a solution that's a little more plug and play or click and install, like maybe on one of these node platforms. But you know, there's limited feasibility there. So definitely one of our bigger challenges, especially if you're in a place with like not great reception. Tor is really gonna crap out. So I hear you.
Yeah, and I wish I understood more even how the Tor network works. It seems like it's just been a strange place for the past month or so, whereby sometimes like even my onion address just is unavailable. Like, what the fuck is happening with Tor, and why is it doing this stuff?
It could be your savior. It could be your worst enemy some days. Definitely have a hate-love relationship with the Tor network.
I know, right?
So,
all right, keeping us going here. I still have more Lightning Network news to jump into here. So, another bit of information or another bit of news is Okcoin added an API to actually do Lightning Network transactions directly through the API. So, this seems pretty big that people that access exchanges, you know, via like a script or something, you know, they write something or some kind of trading bot, what have you. This seems really cool. So you could, you know, do deposits and withdrawals almost instantly, you know, move your liquidity on and off Okcoin, for example, do your trade, get it off, whatever. But I guess seems really interesting. And it seems like, I wonder if other exchanges would end up doing the same thing. Like, I hate to always ask you, Evan, about when Kraken, but are you able to reveal like kind of a thought process on if you guys are going to touch like having the stuff on your API or not? Or is that going too far?
I think I can answer. I think we are going to have full support on our API. I think it's going to be something you opt into. But yeah, we definitely want people to be leveraging it with their scripts if they see a use for it.
What do you think about the concept in general? Do you think like that's going to be something that people widely use?
Not widely, but it'll definitely be leveraged by some parties for sure. And you know, I think we're gonna see like all sorts of general use APIs for these platforms too. You know, especially as a lot of people don't want to handle the Lightning infrastructure themselves. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all shakes out. But definitely expect more of it.
Just to let everyone know, if you want to ask a question, add anything to the conversation, please feel free to request speaker privileges. We definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to hear, your thoughts. If we're wrong about something, tell us we're wrong. We deserve it. We promise.
Yeah, and we won't feel bad. We'd rather just be corrected. So feel free to call us on our shit.
All right. If there's no other stuff, I'll just keep on going down this kind of this news list here. So something else that I saw very similar to the last bit of information with Okcoin is Voltage also released their API where you can basically bypass their dashboard and do everything that you would do normally on Voltage, but just never, open it up on desktop. You can similarly write a script or what have you to handle whatever use case you might have for Voltage. I'm not creative enough to think of like an example of when you might do that, but I'm sure someone else out there might have that idea and then can take that and run with it.
Well, if we're going to talk about Voltage, I don't want to pick on Nate, but he should get up here.
Yeah, Nate is listening in.
What are you doing down there, Nate? Come up here. He's probably busy.
I'm trying to work right now.
Over there. Yeah, exactly. Get off the stage. Get back to work. We're gonna bring Graham in to the chat. He'll be yelling at you for not committing code. But this API thing is pretty exciting. I think it's pretty safe to say that we all love Voltage, and they made a really smooth product. Easy to spin up your own Lightning node, pay with your credit card or with Lightning. Great way to host BTC Pay as well. I don't know if it's going to shake out for sure, but I will say I'm definitely looking at potentially implementing this API into Zeus and having it as a way for users to purchase a node and get set up and get rolling with that node right in Zeus right away. So hopefully something like that comes to fruition. We onboard a lot of full node users using this stack. So really excited to see Voltage growing and looking at all the really cool stuff they're building. And I, for one, am definitely going to be getting my hands dirty with this API. So looking forward to playing with it.
When I stopped listening, instead listened to Jack Mahler's for a few minutes, you guys started talking about Voltage. That's funny. What's going on?
That was our plan.
Yeah, listen, it's a great product.
Dude, it's so much fun.
Hope you guys keep grinding on it. Yeah, I mean, I could only imagine, but Lightning, Bitcoin only focused startup. You guys got a small, tight knit team. You guys got your MVP out, and it already slams, and you've got some really great dashboards. I think you could leverage ThunderHub in it right away, or set up BTC Pay.
So
looks like other implementations are on the way too, beyond L&D. So I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, all that stuff is there, and it's really cool. Like the API and stuff, you could spool up. Other sort of Bitcoin businesses can spool up multiple nodes, shut down multiple nodes, really, really fast, really easy. Stuff like Sphinx and stuff loves that. So it's really cool.
Brad, yeah, this was definitely a good piece of news from this past week. So yeah, excited to see what people build with it, honestly.
Yep.
But yeah, just hitting on that theme, I think Voltage is going to be definitely a big player in providing infrastructure in the space. They've just made it really damn easy, all things considered. It's one click pretty much once you have your payment stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I ran my BTC Pay server on VPS Vultr because I kind of wanted it just kind of on the side. So I spooled it up, did all the configuration in Docker myself and all that stuff. And Vultr is $10 a month. Or I could have done it on, back then Voltage wasn't around, but now you can do it on Voltage, not have to deal with all the Docker and command line stuff. And it's $7 a month and you have your BTC Pay server. So I think it's a really good deal. And I urge everyone to try out any of the free trials if they want to.
Solid. Yeah, check that out, guys. It's voltage.cloud. Here's their domain. Yeah, check it out. Cool, Chaz. Do we have any other topics for this week?
I'm pretty much at the end of the things that I saw that were kind of really topical to talk about. Let me just do a quick look. Like, I think Breeze has a little bit of news, but it's mostly about adding boostograms, which, if people don't know what boostograms are, they're a part of the podcasting 2.0 thing, where you can basically send a tip and a message, and they're basically using this certain format that, if you have it set up correctly, you can actually read the messages using your Lightning Network node. I couldn't figure out how to do it, so he gave me the command, the podcast.index, I think his name is Dave, guy gave me the direct command for LND to actually convert the message correctly. But it works really well and is very interesting. I'm not sure how big of a thing that's going to be, but I guess it's kind of similar to like maybe like that red phone, you know, call up your counterparty and be like, hey dude, why you're being an ass? Something like that. I don't know.
Someone had a proof of concept for that red phone on top of Impervious. It was a pseudo-Zack.
Yeah.
Pseudo-Zack. Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah, we talked about that a bit on our last show.
Gotcha.
But I think
definitely more solutions like that. That's cool.
Sorry, but I was just going to say, it's like, I think we're kind of out of new topics besides that. So I think at this point, it's if the audience has any more questions, has any comments, has any topics they think are interesting and want to bring up, now is the time, or else we might just bail and go party or something. Who knows?
Go watch the Sopranos movie on HBO, maybe. Just maybe some of us. I don't know.
Is that a thing? Is there a new movie?
Yeah, it's like some prequel of Tony growing up as a teen or something. I'm going in with zero expectations, but I love that show.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone requesting speaker privileges or sending me any kind of messages. So
Come
I think
on, you're on stage. We won't bite.
only a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay. Volcanoes. Kat is messaging me about volcanoes and saying we need to talk about volcanoes.
How El Salvador just started their first mining operation powered by volcanoes?
Yes, it's not related to lightning exactly, but yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That's for higher up the stack, I suppose.
Yeah,
So-
I believe it's pronounced Volcanoade. Volcanoade.
This is true.
Is the phrase volcano even like the politically correct way of saying it? I heard the other week that tornado is outdated, so I would think that volcano would also be outdated, but I am unsure. So apologies if I'm not up to date with the latest language.
I feel like making a really dumb nano joke, but I think I won't. But like, so my question is this Volcanaode actually a real thing, or is it just a kind of weird marketing thing by the president of El Salvador? I can't tell. I'm not there. I have zero view into it, but
it definitely is a really awesome marketing tool. But I think it is real. Like, they're starting to mine sats on it. It's just like a matter of like, can you get regular, like consistent energy generated from it? I don't know the ins and outs of that stuff.
Yeah, it's already hashing. It's already got 0.01 BTC that it's found. So
Million sad. First million are the hardest to
It's
make. Folks, let me
happening.
tell you. So yeah, that's cool to see. I feel like this was one of them, like where the president sort of like came to this realization that they could do it, like on one of the first few pods that he got on talking about it. But yeah, it's nuts. It's a really cool idea, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of operational challenges in grabbing that energy from the volcano, but it seems that they at least have a proof of concept. Million sats isn't a whole lot, but it's also proves that the concept works. So let's just see what they can do at scale and how big their operation goes. But if it really is the case that El Salvador is going to be doing mining and ends up being a huge scale, and they expand past this just one facility, like, damn, it's going to be something else. So, going to have to keep our eyes on what percent of the hash power this one state has. So things get really, really interesting really quickly with this thing.
So, like, do you see this being like replicated in other places? Or maybe a better question that I had was, doesn't this kind of blow up the a lot of the FUD surrounding Bitcoin mining? That if we can just throw them on a fucking volcano, it kind of changes the story a bit.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's a good counter argument. It's a good counter argument against the Bitcoin is using bad kinds of energy and so on. So it's a really good thing to put out that yes, but we're mining with volcanoes now. Like it's I think that's a good cash line to use, and I think it will continue to use if it's managed to be a good way of mining as well. So.
All right. So I think that's pretty much it. We're kind of at the end of the show here. We're almost about 2 hours. We typically don't go over 2 hours for these things to try to keep them as popping as possible. If we don't have anything else, we'll just end it there. So I want to go ahead and thank Evan, D++, Hampus, Nate, Charlene, and other people whose names I couldn't keep inside my head throughout the entire show. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Our sponsors are Lightning Junkies, Zeus Wallet, and Amboss.space. We'll probably do a better ad read some other time. I kind of liked how smooth this one was when we didn't have it. So YOLOs.
I'm going to write some copy for you. It's going to be hilarious. You're going to love it.
Fantastic. On our next show, I'm not sure if I mean my podcast or I mean another Lightning Friday, but we'll be announcing something big that will make sure that Lightning Friday will live for an extended period of time, because we actually have someone that works on behind the scenes for this thing to actually make sure it works right. Like, obviously the Twitter Space is easy, but we live stream this. And after the fact, we make sure to go through and add timestamps to all the discussions. So if you ever want to go back after the fact and listen to just a certain subject matter, we try to make it as easy as possible to do that. So yeah, I would definitely encourage, like, if you have any need to go back and listen to it, that'd be an easy way to do it. So someone was asking in the YouTube comments, the Lightning ATM thing. You can find it at atm.lightning.store, and it's on there. But if there's nothing else, I think we're done. We're going to go ahead and end it.
So you got to tell me what this news is. Like, what's going on? Can you tease it at all? Are we buying Tim Dillon's studio in Austin, Texas that he abandoned? Like, what's going on?
I barely know who this Tim Dillon guy is. I think he was on Rogan, right? But
yeah, I'll send you some videos later. You'll get a
okay.
Yeah.
It's basically we've lined up 2 companies that are going to be giving grants to Lightning Junkies, if that doesn't give it away too much. We wanted to specifically do it in such a way where we're not putting ads onto our podcast, because I fucking hate ads, and I think they waste the listeners' time. So that's kind of the goal there, and we found 2 companies that were willing to not require an ad read. We are going to have stuff in our show notes. We are going to mention it on Lightning Friday every week, just because that's part of it. And we're also going to have a person from one of the companies come on to talk about how they're going to add more Lightning Network stuff in the future where they're currently lacking. Yeah, kind of vague, but yeah, I think it's going to be some good news, at least for Lightning Friday and Lightning Junkies. And maybe if people are interested in this particular company, they might be excited for their Lightning Network stuff as well.
Sweet. That is rad.
All right, kiddos. I think we're all done. I'll see y'all on the Lightning Network.
Peace.